How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel. Thought I'd start with that. No, listen, how's everyone?
Couple press conferences and look what he's turned into.
We're back for another AFTV Live. I'm joined by Turkish. Turkish, how are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm all right, man. Do you know what it feels? I feel like I haven't been here for a while, but I feel like I haven't done a live in about a week actually or so. So it's nice to be back, obviously back with you, discussing the topic of the day. Now, we're gonna go through a lot of stuff in this show. We're gonna get, as always, you guys interacting and getting your thoughts on certain things, like player expectations is something I definitely wanna go through today. And what we expect players to hit for goal-wise, assist-wise, and yeah, what we expect from Arsenal this season. But the main topic which we've got on the headline today is Arteta playing You'll Never Walk Alone in training from the Amazon Prime clip that went out. Obviously, the premiere was yesterday. A lot of Arsenal involved in the club, a lot of the press was there, a lot of media. I think some players went down there. Edu was there as well, I saw. So they had a premiere for the first 3 episodes. Now, that clip is going round. Many people are speaking about it. Him playing You'll Never Walk Alone in training to get them ready for the game against Liverpool. I mean, from what I've seen online, many people aren't happy with what they saw of him doing that, but I'm gonna go the opposite way of it. I know we didn't get the result from that game. I believe we lost 4-0. But I do remember when I was playing, before Youth Cup, we had a big game against Youth Cup in the stadium. For many players, Youth Cup's like a big deal, especially when you're coming through trying to get a professional contract. We did something similar. Mm-hmm. We had a load of speakers on the pitch in training, and he played them really loud. So it was basically just to deter us from being able to hear each other on the pitch. So when we go to the stadium, we weren't so shocked about we can't hear, the manager shouting from the sidelines giving instructions. It was something to benefit the young players. And now we know Arsenal, they got a young team. Some of them have played in big occasions and whatnot. So the likes of Saka being in the Euros and whatnot. So they're quite experienced in certain scenarios, but for me, when I was playing as a young player and many of the players in my team, it was actually a good benefit that he did that, because we realised that when we're going to discuss 1-2s or when we're talking amongst our players, we've got to be closer, we've got to speak louder and be aware. Whether or not people have their own opinions on the You'll Never Walk Alone being played in training, clearly didn't work, so we lost. That's their opinion, but I do like that Arteta is trying different methods to get through to players, and I feel like if a bigger manager did something or took a risk for certain things like this, it wouldn't have been so perceived so badly.
Not necessarily, because before we do touch in on that, I remember once upon a time when Klopp first came in at Liverpool and a lot of the antics he was doing after the games, win, lose or draw, going up to fans and doing the whole, I don't know what you call it, but
yeah, the parading
and all that stuff. I remember, listen, a lot of those moments, fans of opposition clubs ridiculed, and that's Jurgen Klopp. And we know what Jurgen Klopp is now. And to be honest, even then, he was a top manager from what he had done previously. But I don't liken it because it's not the same. But obviously, it is just, for me, it is what it is. It's, you could obviously see in the clip that it was just an idea out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then he went to relay it onto the next guy. And then the next guy was like, all right, well, we'll give it a go. Kind of thing. The main thing for me is it didn't work. It's not really around what you tried. Listen, I understand what you tried, but you can never replicate the atmosphere of an Anfield or playing against Liverpool, Man City or so on. So listen, it didn't work. What did you say? We lost 4-0 that game.
4-0, yeah, we went away. That's the only thing is if you're trying to do, so for when we did it, it was specific to, so because we can't hear each other or the manager's giving directions on the sidelines, that was the benefit. This, I think it's just he wanted to replicate the atmosphere, but again he played the track instead of playing actual like fans singing "You'll Never Walk Alone," which I found interesting.
He tried something. It didn't work.
But listen, managers have done it. Wenger, when he came back from Japan, he had all these things like barefoot, getting touched in the grass, and having no shoes on in certain areas, and stretching, the yoga, the dietary stuff. Like that was all frowned upon when he first came into Arsenal, and then he revolutionised a lot of the things what we saw in the Premier League. So and at Arsenal Football Club. So. Listen, it was I'm not going to say it's the wrong decision because it wasn't the wrong decision. Fair enough, try things. I'm not against that and the managers doing that. Yes, it didn't work, but I'm all for Arteta trying these new innovative ideas, try and get the best out of his team. Even the speech before, I know that we're talking about the clips and all or nothing, even the speech before the Norwich game, him about the open heart surgery and how much it means to him, this club and the players and yeah, just hold the truth and honesty of that. I didn't expect that, and that worked in his favour. But things like that, I'm really happy seeing from Mikel Arteta, trying these new things. But yeah, that all or nothing, walk alone in training, interesting one. But I slightly understand.
Yeah, everyone's got their own methods. Obviously, Wenger came in already having had experience as a manager. This is Arteta's first role as a manager, so he's going to try things, maybe things he learned of Pep, Wenger and David Moyes and whoever he's played under over the years. With the Norwich one, it seemed to have worked because we got the one, was it a 1-0 win?
Yeah.
Not the greatest of performances. It is what it is. At the end of the day, I'm not against it, but it has to work. So for me, it is what it is. I know a lot of people are talking about it online and then Twitter and whatnot. For now, it's just clips. I think we kind of get an idea of what the Amazon All or Nothing documentary is going to be about, or the angle it's going to take, and that's very much Mikel Arteta, new manager, philosophy, how he's changing Arsenal. I think it's going to be very PR based, let's say. It seems like it's very orientated to be promoting Mikel, probably Edu too, and the way the club has taken on this transitional period.
Is it a bad thing though, considering the season didn't really end the way we wanted to end? And I agree with you, it's going to be heavily Mikel Arteta focused, but is that a bad thing, Turks? Because there was some moments in the season, but a lot of it will be looking at Arteta, and I don't think that's because considering he's still here and we're all buying into we're looking very excited for this season.
I know there's a Haaland documentary coming out as well somewhere. I don't know if it's the Arsenal YouTube channel or whatever, but I would have liked it to be more angled towards, listen, the main thing about last season was this whole youth project. The main players we were excited about were the young players in our side. So I hope that the angle of the documentary plays a big part in looking at the young players, how they deal with the responsibility, Emil getting the 10, Saka's new contract, the new number and so on, Martinelli coming in when the other situation happened. I would have liked that angle because it'd be nice to see how they took the initial, pressure. Yeah. How they developed, how they built it on top of it across the season. Obviously, Emil in and out of the first team, still very productive. Saka kicked on last season. Like I said, there's a story with Martinelli too. But it does seem very Arteta-based. But there's what is it, 6 episodes in total? Maybe more.
I believe so. There might be more. There
might be more. There's a few episodes, so I'm gonna wait for it to come out. I'm gonna wait for it to come out, and I hope that some of the development of the youth is in there as well, because that's something I'd like to see. Like you said, the season didn't end well, so I remember I said, was it upstairs a few weeks ago? Back in the day, I'm not watching a season review of a season where we didn't win the league. Growing up, that was just normal to me. Would I watch the season reviews when we win leagues, when we go on? Yes, go invincible and win FA and so on. Yes, I would. But the seasons where we finished second, didn't get anything under our belts in terms of a trophy, I wasn't interested in the season review, albeit there was still great players, great moments, great goals. It was more, let's move on to next season now because we didn't do our thing this season. Now it's a very different time. Now we're finishing 5th off the back of 2 8th place finishes, and a lot of people now still want to see what's going on behind closed doors and whatnot. Yeah. I always knew that it's going to be...
They're not going to show us all the
Never. I'm surprised Arsenal did it in the first place.
Yeah.
That surprised me that Arsenal did it. But then I thought to myself, listen, we didn't make Europa League. The financial impact of that was probably the reason why we said yes to Amazon. And what was it, 11 mil? That's not even that much. So to take the risk that they took for the income that we got from it, 11 mil, I knew that the risk was probably averted in terms of them having the final say on the angle of the documentary. With the clips, it looks like they have, but we'll see.
Yeah, we will see. I know you spoke about the Haaland documentary, and the thing with me, I hear it, but I think there's a difference between like the academy side, which the documentary would be heavily focused on, compared to what we're going to see in All or Nothing. Yes, the young players were a big part of last season, but there's players that are more academy players like Charlie Patino's, there's loads of Flores, like those, Amari Hutchinson's, they didn't actually get too much of a feature, but we've been talking about young players like the Emil Smith-Rowes, the Sakas. I hope they are included, and I hope they look at the new signings as well in this documentary. I do want to see a lot of that, because those are the positives of last season. The new signings and how they surprised the fan base. Well, me personally, I didn't expect certain players to come in and have such a big impact. Yes, again, we didn't get what we wanted, but I would like to see that aspect added into the documentary. I think that's, I'm going to say safe. I know it's PRE to say that, but it's safe to cover. I don't think we're going to see the things like what really went down with Aubameyang and Arteta as much as I think you might get maybe a 2 minutes on it, but I don't think they're going to go into depth of what really went down, which is a shame. But if they're not going to do that, then give us the stuff that we really brought into, the Sakas, the Emile Smith-Rowes, the Martinellis, him coming in and really taking hold of his position and overshining a little bit of Emile Smith-Rowe, and the new signs, like I said, the Ramsdales, the Tomiyasus.
Also about seeing how serious they are behind the scenes. Because over the years, I've seen some of the, the clips from the dressing room and the activities going on behind closed doors and on the training pitch, and it's like Mustafi dancing in his pants and even the whole Oba and Laka, the whole handshake. Listen,
but players got to be human. There's an argument.
But if you're underperforming, you keep your head down. That's how I see it. Of course, if you're doing your thing and you're doing your job, then chest out and enjoy yourself. But if you're underperforming, for me, you need to keep your head down. But
that's if they're going to show that. It's only because Amazon were filming at that time. More time they don't. They probably, that's just how they are. And they're not expected to be shown consistently. Of them really enjoying themselves. Whether obviously if they lose, they shouldn't be celebrating. But if they're having a bad day at training, just joking about and messing around, that's a normal day. We wouldn't normally see that because Amazon's there. And I don't think they would show that anyway. If I'm
it's about
honest.
Taking pride in your work as well. Like when you're underperforming. Like it's a bit cheeky to be dancing in your pants or having jokes and fun in the dressing room after you've just dropped points and so on, or you've dropped points on the weekend and in the training midweek it's all laughs and jokes. And listen, sometimes it's about being serious as well. I look at Man City, that team is serious. It's serious behind closed doors. Liverpool, serious behind closed doors.
Do we really know? We saw the Amazon Prime doc for City, but do we really know?
Of course they are.
Do we really know that it's completely militant the whole time? I know Sterling's he's a joker as well in the change room. I know that he might have a laugh.
Man City have had stars over the last 10 years, right? They've won multiple things. They've been one of the best teams in the last 10 years. Liverpool have had stars over the last however many years. They've won big things and they've been one of the best teams. Man United have had stars over the years. They haven't won big things. And they haven't lived up to expectation. If I look at those three clubs and I say, what is the difference? They've all had stars. They've all had top managers. What is the difference? Man City, serious team, serious players, serious manager. Liverpool, same thing. With Man United, I think behind the scenes, it wasn't as serious as Liverpool. Well, Jose was a serious manager. Louis van Gaal's a serious manager. Maybe, okay, Ole, is what it is with him. But I think it was the culture of the dressing room that was, part of the problem. Similar to us, the culture of our dressing room and the standards of the players were a big part of our problem across those years. There was no accountability. No one was looking at themselves and really trying to fix the issue. It was just win, lose or draw, we move on to the next week. But as fans, that's not good enough for me. As fans, you need to take pride in what you're doing and who you're playing for. Like I said, if we go lose a game, I'd rather not see you for 6 days until you get back on that pitch again, and then hopefully you change the perception around. So for me, it's about how serious we are now. Well, not now, but moving into the second year of the process. It'll be interesting for me to see. Do you give Mikel Arteta credit then for doing the clear out of certain players that you could deem as not having that serious mentality, and now rebuilding something that you're buying into? Yeah, I mean, listen, you give him credit for it, but at the same time, it's something that we all knew had to be done. Even if you hired me as manager, the first thing I was going to do was get rid of a lot of those players. So I think it was an easy win. It was an easy win to, get rid of a lot of the characters in the dressing room, because a lot of the characters in the dressing room were letting us down. But he gets credit for it. Of course, even up until this summer, we'd like some more money for the players that we're letting go of. But that just shows how much the reputations of the players were damaged. That shows how inconsistent the mismanagement of the players from Arsenal Football Club and the managers over the years. So yeah, let's just see how that's changed now. It's second full year of the process. Edu has indicated that if we had made top 4, I think it was Edu or Vinay, if we had made top 4, then we would have been a year in advance of the project or the process or whatever they call it. Well, they did say they were surprised when I was in that top 4 conversation, it was in the race, they said they were surprised that they were ahead of ahead of the curve. Yeah, of what they expected. So if that was the case, for them it's a successful season, for them, not for me. For them it must have been, because if they didn't expect top 4, to just miss out on the last couple of days of the season or last couple of games of the season, for them it's probably looked at not as a success, but as the next step required moving into this season where Champions League football is a necessity. Someone's got a comment here, just quickly before we move on to, because I spoke about players exiting and giving Mikel Arteta credit. I'm going to talk about players that have left. There's a comment here that just said,
from NR says, come on Turkish, getting rid of Aubameyang was a massive gamble and an excellent move from Arteta. It wasn't easy at all, which is...
You can't say it was what is an excellent move?
Massive gamble and excellent move.
It was a massive gamble, but it didn't pay off because we didn't make top 4.
Didn't replace him.
You know, at the end of the day, if maybe we put an arm around Ober and said, listen, give us 5 more months, bang in a couple more goals, maybe we make top 4 and then we let you go. That might have been the better way to deal with it. At the end of the day, I don't look at January as a gamble that paid off. I don't think no fan can look at January as a gamble that paid off. Because what does paid off mean? Did we do January to finish 5th? That's not paid off for me. That's you know, we had an opportunity there.
We had an upturn in form.
And I agree with getting rid of Ober.
It made sense to do
just
that.
Replace him. If you're not going to replace him, put an arm around him and say, listen, 4 months, 5 months, you love the club. Maybe we don't get along. Tevez and Mancini had the same, not the same, but a similar issue at City. They managed to bring him back. He was quite productive for the months he came back in, and then they moved him on.
But I think NR's I think there's truth to what he's saying. Yes, it's not 100% because he didn't strengthen in January, but fair play to Mikel Arteta. I think there's a lot of fans that was not saying. A lot of fans, were saying not to get rid of Aubameyang, just drop him or not play him, but not to get rid of him. And I think Arteta made a bold decision.
And to get nothing for him.
Yeah, that's the only thing no, not that. Sorry, the only thing is not replaced him in January to secure that top 4 spot. Yeah, that is one of the main things.
We've got a super chat here from Wayne as well. He says, some of the fans ridiculing it, we're obviously talking about the clips, are showing a high level of ignorance. Not every idea is going to work every time. Important thing is to try something. Have your ideas, you know, especially as a new manager, you need to try. It's trial and error a lot of the first few years as management. I think the credit of inexperience has not run out for me, because he's going to be inexperienced for the next 6-7 years, because when you look at the other managers around and the level he has to reach, a lot of those managers have had a decade plus experience from top to bottom. So he's still going to be learning for the next 3, 4, 5 years, but in terms of the credit of inexperience at Arsenal, that he's had a lot to learn off in his first 3 years. Yeah. He's had a lot to learn off. It hasn't been ideal for a new manager, but he's done well enough to he's done well enough in the eyes of Kroenke and Vinay and so on to still be here. But now for me, I'm not hearing inexperience. I'm not hearing that this season.
But what are you saying? What are you saying? He played blue as the colour before the Chelsea game in training, in the speakers?
Nah, listen. He tried that. It didn't work. You can't replicate atmosphere of Anfield. Chelsea's a bit different because their atmosphere ain't nothing like Anfield. But so I kind of get what he tried to do there, but it was quite.
What did he try before that Chelsea game? Because I swear that I'd love to listen. Make sure that's in the doc, because that took us both by surprise going away to Stamford Bridge that game, and Eddie was on fire. And that was we won 4-2. So be interested to see what happened before that game. I spoke about players exiting. I know some super chats, and we'll come back to them. A few players have left or gone on loan. Mari is close to, according to Gianluca Di Mazzio, he's close to signing for Monza in the Serie A. Again, for me, I didn't want to see Pablo Mari move on. I'm going to be honest. I didn't. I think he's got quality. I'd rather have him there and maybe move on to the likes of Rob Holding. I think you can get good money for Rob Holding as well. But it looks like they will hold on to him. But Pablo Mari's looking to be heading out. We heard the news today, obviously, from Balogun. From Romano about Balogun signing for. How do you pronounce this team's name? Rems? It's the League On team, but I don't know if it's Rems or Reims, because there is a Rennes that Runnelson's been linked to. But is this, I think this is Reims. A deal to be signed with Arsenal player. He's going to be on loan until June 2023, and that is Flo Balogun as well. We're going to move on to some of the other players that might be going on loan as well. But Balogun, Turkish. Me and you wanted to see Balogun. This was before he went on loan to Middlesbrough. More involvement from him. We didn't really get it. He went to Middlesbrough. I believe he only scored 3 goals. I wouldn't call it a successful loan trip. He didn't set the world alight, but he did his loan spell. Going on loan again. I don't see Arsenal making a signing of a striker. Maybe we might see a winger come in.
Yeah, we're not signing a striker.
Your thoughts on people watching as well? Thoughts on just Eddie Nketiah and Gabriel Jesus for the whole of this season? Where does it put you? Because I remember we did speak off camera. He said we're 1 injury away in certain positions of a season where we're going to be very, very worried.
Right now, there's 3 things. If you ask me, the next 3 things Arsenal need to do or need to act upon, the first one for me is a Xhaka upgrade in that position. and then Xhaka can fall as the backup into that number 8 position. Secondly, for me, and it's probably a joint second, it'd be more support for Jesus, more support for Thomas Partey. Reason being, I look at the starting 11 now, and okay, if Tomiyasu's injured, Ben White can go right back, and we've got Saliba and Gabriel in the middle now. If Gabriel Saliba's injured, then Ben White comes in there. If Tierney's injured, Zinchenko comes in. If Odegaard's out, Vieira comes in. So we've got a bit more depth in certain positions. But when I look at the striker position, if Jesus goes out, I'm worried. If Thomas Partey in the middle goes out, I'm worried, because then it's Eddie Nketiah and El Nene. And don't get me wrong, towards the end of last season, they did come in and do a job shortly. But in the end, also the lack of real quality cost us. Maybe not against Tottenham, because Tottenham have got quality world-class players, but against Newcastle, for example, that performance for me is unforgivable. Because, you know, off the back of getting thumped by Tottenham and still having top 4 in your hands, that level of performance, that level of output was embarrassing, to say the least. I hope they know that. And I think they do, because in a couple of interviews, Edu has mentioned the end of last season and that particular game, and you know, we need stronger characters, more winners, and we've added that with Jesus, we've added that with Zinchenko, and even Saliba. You know, he's still a young player, but he's got that attitude and demeanour of someone who wants to win, someone who wants to develop, someone who wants to be the best centre back in the world, and that's something money can't really buy. That's a natural thing inside you. You know, some people are just happy getting the money, and you see that with a lot of players. Saliba was upset with his treatment by Arsenal to the point where he was still entertaining Marseille, but now he knows, you know, he's got a place here at Arsenal. He wants to be here, and we need to make sure we support players like that, who not only have quality, you know, in terms of their on the pitch presence, but they have that inner winning mentality. They have that inner want to be the best, because that separates the boys from the men in football. You know, do you want to reach the top like a Cristiano Ronaldo? You know, you could see Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi is so naturally gifted. Don't get twisted, Messi's worked hard to be where he is, but Cristiano Ronaldo has worked harder, and I'm a Messi fan all day long. If you ask me out of the two, there's no debate who's better. But Ronaldo kept up and kept it tight and kept the conversation going all up until now, because of his inner desire to be the best, and there's not enough players around that have that inner desire. You know.
Just quickly, Turkish. So let me start about the positions that. Out of the two positions, what are you most worried about if one goes down? So the midfield or the striker? Because obviously, the reason why I asked you is Zinchenko is now at the club, and he can cover that midfield. But I know you're very much looking at that as the Xhaka replacement and whatnot. But if Xhaka goes down, I think we have, maybe not for the whole season, but we have viable cover in my opinion. I don't know about the striking options. Or really, if Gabriel Jesus goes down, yes, we have Eddie. But if he doesn't, if he's not scoring like he was scoring towards the back end of the season, there's a worry there.
Yeah, it's hard to say which one could affect us more. It really is, man. Because right now, because of the drop-off in quality from starter to backup, Jesus and Partey for me are just top of that list. I can't really. Maybe I'm going to lean to Partey because we've seen what Partey's injuries have done to us over the couple of years and the mess it can create. But don't get it twisted. If Jesus gets injured, we'd be in a sticky situation as well. So I'm going to lean towards Partey and say, really, we should learn off our lessons and kind of sort that area out. But we gave El Nene a 1-year extension. Sambi Lokonga is still about, and we all debate what his best position is. I don't think none of us really know. It looks like he'll be played in that 8 role more. So at this moment in time, it's Xhaka and Sambi. So for me, if you ask me to stick my neck on the line and say which one, if one is to be addressed, I'd say a Thomas Partey backup before another striker, but I'm saying an upgrade on Xhaka before a Thomas Partey backup.
Okay, upgrade on Xhaka for Thomas Partey.
And that's without touching on Saka's backup and the left-hand side as well could do with some reinforcement.
Yeah, we've seen Arteta be able to mix and match though for that right-hand side to cover with playing players, you know, from either left or right. So that I can understand why that's not a major worry or concern right now.
It depends on Marquinhos as well. Xhaka done a recent interview with Arsenal and he was asked about Marquinhos and he said that Marquinhos kind of reminds him of Martinelli, where a lot of people see him as an under-23s player for the next couple, but what he sees from him, he could potentially see him breaking into first team appearances this season. So it all depends on that as well. Which
I did find very fascinating that he said that, because even Edu, when he first signed Marquinhos, and the quotes are like, he's one for the future, he's not looking, you know, he's going to be something we're going to be working on and whatnot. But yeah, it does seem like he might actually have some involvement in this first team. And I did read those comments about Marquinhos from Xhaka, and he said he's very he's very physically advanced. Like he is very mature in his physicality. He's very strong on the ball. So we might see more of him, and I guess that is more cover. Whether he's ready or not, I still yet to decide. We've only seen a few games or a few minutes in pre-season, but yeah, I did read that as well. And obviously, now that we're on that, Xhaka having another interview, speaking about his relationship with the fans, it always seems to bring this up. And do you know what? This one, out of all of them, I know this is probably like
this is like he drew a line underneath it now.
Yeah, I actually like that. Because things he was saying things like, listen, it actually affected him, and he wanted to. He said now that he's 30 and he's more mature, he really wants to build the relationship back. He understands what happened against Palace and him taking off the shirt and why fans were annoyed. But now he just like basically what he just said there. He wants to draw a line under it. And just move on and build the relationship. He feels like there is a close relationship between him and the fans. And yeah, I've got some of the quotes here, so I'll just quickly read through it. You mentioned, this is from the interview you had with Arsenal, you mentioned the fans. You spoke a little bit last season about your relationship with Arsenal fans. How has it been since then? He said, very good. I've always wanted to turn things around to be good with them. I always respected the people. There was a moment where both of us maybe were misunderstanding each other, but this is over for me. I feel much more love from people outside, and my job is to give them something back on the pitch. They know how I am. I give every time 100% for this football club. Sometimes well, sometimes less. But the love I feel at the moment is very, very good. And I feel like he is just trying to bridge that. There is a lot more that he goes on to say about him and the fans. But I think it's one thing that he's just trying to let's just move on. Let's, again, show it on the pitch. I know he did mention that before the Tottenham game. And it didn't really turn out.
It's funny because mentally I've moved on from Xhaka, but he's still starting for us. I've just come to terms that I don't like him in that position. Well, I don't like him as a player. But nothing's going to be done about it. So I've just come to terms with that. Really and truly, we shouldn't be going into, what is it, is it the 7th season with Xhaka as one of our centre mids? Sixth or seventh?
Yeah.
That's madness to me, but how many times can I say the same thing?
But do you blame I don't blame Xhaka for that.
Well, of course, you can't blame the player. The player doesn't pick himself.
This is what I'm saying.
But managers have fell on a few of these players' swords, and Xhaka's been one of those players too. Yeah. Emery slightly fell on that sword, making him captain the way it ended, and then the performance.
I'm slowly starting to look away from Xhaka.
When we finished second, Wenger went out and bought him. We didn't make Champions League again, and then the frustrations grew and grew. We drop into top 6, and his job's gone. So yeah, as much as it's not his fault, he's still getting picked. So it is what it is. I think we can do better. There's some fans out there, a lot of fans already, you can see, that think he's good enough. Cool. I hope you guys are right. But for 6 years he hasn't been. So let's hope that it's 7th time lucky.
Yeah, no, I think I just saw a comment there about Xhaka's mentality as well, and someone said that they like it, and I am moving away from. Listen, I think there's incapabilities in his game that very much frustrate me, that have cost us in the past. But I can't keep getting annoyed at if he's been selected by Mikel Arteta. He clearly sees something in Xhaka.
And mentality
that
is one thing, and I get that. When he speaks about giving 100%, and when he speaks about being committed in tackles and whatnot, that's the right way to be. But quality does come into it as well. Otherwise, we might as well talk to Roy Keane from Sky Sports and bring him over now, because he's going to be committed. He's going to give 100%. But is his quality good enough at this age?
Quality's not.
Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. So there's a lot of players that will give you 100%, but for the bigger clubs, it's not just 100% commitment and desire and that tough guy attitude you need. You need the quality to come with it. Otherwise, when he gets, like when Vieira used to get red cards, I didn't mind so much, because I know when he's there, he's not only giving it his all, not only committed 100%, but he's quality as well. He helps win us games as well. That's something I can't say for Xhaka. I can't say he wins us games. I can't say he's been key to well, we haven't done anything since he's come to the club. But
this season he might be quite vital though right now. If we don't sign another midfielder in that position, he could be really vital, unless Arteta changes to a 4-3-3 and puts Partey just as a lone CDM. I think Xhaka is going to be important to this season, and he did tell end the season not too bad in that new role where he's a bit more forward on the left. So listen, Xhaka, we'll see how he does this season. But yeah, I've always had my doubts. But if you're not going to find a replacement for him, then I don't mind him being in the side as long as he's consistent in how he ended the season.
Listen, more solid performances, less interviews. That's just what I want from my guy now.
More action, is what you're saying. More action, less words.
We've had more interviews from him than great performances. That's a fact. Yeah. So let's start getting some more great performances, and then ask me about Xhaka at the end of this season coming. Because he's still being relied upon too. So he's got better players around him. He's got a system that seems to be ticking along nicely around him. He's got a manager that's believing in him. He talks highly about that and how much Arteta helped turn around his desire to leave the club. The stage is yours, my guy. The stage is not just his, it's everyone's. But there's a couple of players in there that have been part of the mess previously that are still left. The stage is yours to prove that you wasn't a part of that mess in terms of adding to it. You was just around when that mess was going on.
Okay, let's head over to Super Chats. I know you got a few there, and then we'll go into some player expectations, which I'm actually looking forward to.
Someone said Turkish is bitter. Bitter about what? Like, what he done was wrong coming off the pitch, but what would I, at the end of the day, all I really care about is his level.
Have you looked past that now?
Listen, I'm not going to keep on banging on about it, but he's hardly come out and really, not... If he apologises or not, it's not going to change my opinion on him as a player. Okay. I've only ever judged him as a player. Then obviously that incident came, and then some of the comments, and you could see there's a chip on his shoulder, and you could see there was something between him and a certain section of fans. Probably the fans that think along the lines that I think that he's not good enough. But then there's a lot of people that took that a step too far, and then online abuse comes into it and affecting other family members. I'm not for that. I'm completely against that. But then we all got thrown in the same bucket as people abusing and doing the wrong thing. But I just look at these. Listen, I don't know none of these players. I don't know what they do in their private lives. I don't know how good a person they are. I don't know how bad a person they are. I don't know their morals. I don't know what they do day to day. All I see is them on the pitch, and I judge them on the pitch. That's it. So my criticisms of Xhaka over the years has just been strictly from that. But he was wrong for doing what he did. Don't get me wrong, I might even react in the same way. But I'd be wrong doing it. I'd be wrong doing it. That's why I kind of get his reaction.
If you was in his, I could see you just wilding out like that. So that's interesting. That's you. If people are chatting rubbish, you on the pitch, if a lot of you feel like, all right, cool, bun this.
And a lot of people, a lot of my friends remind me that Turkish, that you'd probably react in similar way. But listen, I would be wrong in that.
Fair.
At the end of the day, like I said, an apology is not going to change my opinion of him as a football player. I've moved on from that incident. He should never have recovered as an Arsenal player from that incident, let alone ever wear the armband again.
But he did.
But again, like, how many times can I keep on talking about the same thing?
Fair. So I think judging him by his performance as a player is the best way to put that. Because you're right. Because I could see you reacting like that, and you can understand why he may have. But it is then, when you're coming back, it doesn't have to always be apologies every week. Let's just get back to the performance on the pitch and focus on that. Very interesting. There's super chats that...
let's get a couple of super chats in.
So you read that one.
Read the Wayne one. Elijah says, what you're referring to is professionalism, right? Does that automatically equate to a perpetual dour demeanour? Maybe for you, but these guys are humans. Elijah, like I said, if you're underperforming in your role, and your role is based off of entertainment for supporters and fans, not customers, it's very different. I think you should keep your head down if you're underperforming. You should kind of look at yourself in the mirror sometimes. And this doesn't just go for a footballer. This goes for an office manager, a customer service assistant, whatever walk of life someone is in, whatever role someone's in. If you're underperforming, you can't underperform and then act like your shit don't stink at the same time. And like I said, they might see man as a customer, but I'm a supporter, a fan of Arsenal Football Club. So when I see that sort of attitude off the back of underperformances, and again, we've mentioned Mustafi here, we've mentioned Xhaka, Lacazette, Oba, Bellerin, so many names. So I'm not directing this towards one person. I just think they didn't take it, and it didn't look like they was taking it as seriously as us fans were. Hence why there was so much of a divide and a disconnect between the fans and the players. It wasn't just me. There was a large section of fans that looked at some of the attitude of the players, looked at some of the things behind the scenes and said, there's not a culture of winning there. There's not a culture of wanting to do better and, you know, really holding ourselves accountable. It just seems that every game comes and goes. We're going to live our life. We're going restaurant on Tuesday. I don't care if we lose 4-0, 5-0. We're going out raving on the Wednesday. We'll do shisha on the Thursday. It just seemed like they were more focused on their personal lives, which, of course, you need to focus on your personal life, but you can focus on your personal life under the radar too. Like I said, if you look at Man City, if you look at Liverpool, a lot of their stars, you don't see them acting up even though they're winning stuff. You don't see them doing all of this nonsense, even though they're winning stuff and they are on the biggest stage. So, you know, when I used to see that from Arsenal finishing 8th, and so on, it didn't bode well for me. But of course, it doesn't just come down to a dour demeanour. Like I said, it's more than that. It's an inner want to be the best. It's an inner want to prove people wrong. It's an inner desire to want to, you know, bring us back to where we as fans think we should be. Yeah, it's tough. Like I'm gonna go to comment in a second, but it's tough because Pogba. I watched Pogba's documentary on the way to we went to Florida, and obviously he's one of those guys that has one of those personalities, charismatic, does those TikToks, I guess, goes to basketball games, and he got slated for doing things in the gym. But in his documentary, and I mean, you could say it's PR, but I genuinely believe that he says he trains non-stop, like 3 times a day, regardless. Yes, he has time for that, but for some of these dances, and he's a showman, but he does train really hard. And the reason why I think Who's that?
Pogba, and I know his performances obviously weren't great last season. He's had.
Don't get me wrong with Pogba,
with injuries, but he is a proven player. He's definitely got bundles of ability, 100%. But this showman type characteristic, I think, is very much looked down upon in football, and it's a shame because even when I was playing, I was a showman. That's probably why I suffered so bad as well. And I had that sort of person. You've seen me play. I do silly things, handstands, the splits on the pitch, but these can get ridiculed. And I'm very much a Roy Keane type of character. Yeah, I know you are. If you haven't worked out already, I've come from that era. Roy Keane would hate me in the change room. Yeah, but I know he would hate you. Get that fucking guy out of here, mate. he would drag me through the dressing room. I'm glad he said it, not me, but yeah. Do you know what? I've always said I wanted to meet Roy Keane. Let me actually pull that. People are different at the end of the day. It depends what era you grew up in. It depends, you know, who. I witnessed Invincibles from I was obviously very young, but like I understand it's a whole different mentality. But they were winners. They were winners first, and I've been like that. But I've also found I've enjoyed to see people be people as well, as well as be players. But yeah, it's hard to get the balance because they look negatively upon the actual lifestyles of players if it's not coinciding, like you just said, the performances. If the team aren't doing well. Yeah, I never used to worry about like. Is Thierry Henry a person because I'm not seeing him do this and that in the background, or is Pire or is Adam? I know they're people. I know they've got emotions. I know they're humans. I know they're going to enjoy their lives. But at the same time, what they had was the inner desire to win, to develop, to prove themselves, to prove doubters wrong, to achieve big things. That got lost in football over the last 20 years. Yeah. So you can have fun, but you also need that inner, you know, that inner belief, desire, want, and we lack it. We've lacked it in abundance. And like I said, if you look at Man City, if you look at Liverpool, they have a lot of players that don't give a shit about social media. They don't care about all those antics. Yeah. And coincidentally, they've been at the top of the game for a few years now. When Chelsea won major honours, well, okay, the Champions League recently, a young side, but that's not a great Chelsea side. When you look at the great Chelsea sides under Jose and whoever else, you got a lot of experienced players who didn't give a toss about the limelight. Look at Hazard, for example. Look at Fabregas. Look at Diego Costa. You know, or before that when they had Arjen Robben or Makelele and so on. So when you look at the best teams over the last 20, 30 years, they had a lot of serious men on that team. A lot of men that they don't only possess quality, but they have it in there and up there as well. And it's about getting that sort of attitude and culture back in. And yeah, Jesus, Zinchenko, 25 years of age, winners, one captain. They've been at the highest level of club football recently. So hopefully that comes in with them. Just before we go back to your super chats, Joe Allison says, man like Cecil saying Xhaka can only keep his place until Arteta changes to a 4-3-3. What games have you been watching? I understand we've changed to that, but I'm saying there's a lone defensive mid having Partey there. Xhaka has been playing more forward, but we want to improve on that. And I think once Fabio Vieira's fit and ready and Martin Odegaard's, he's going to be fine, I think you'll see more of what Arteta really wants, to just literally having Partey at the base and letting the players play free in front instead of having to track back just in case likes of Xhaka. That's why I'm saying that, and it's basically an improvement on Xhaka that can go forward and defend. So yeah.
A couple more super chats. Cyrus, big up Cyrus, member of my channel. A friend of mine loves Arsenal, but as a kid he supported a different club. Now as an adult, his cousins who are Arsenal fans won't accept him. He asked me to ask you guys for advice. Maybe he shouldn't accept his cousins. I don't know what else to say. It's a difficult one because changing your team at any age is always looked down upon. But I guess changing to support Arsenal Football Club in the last 10, 15 years isn't a glory hunter because there's been very little glory. But it is what it is. Cyrus, just tell him to keep his head up and maybe delete his cousin's numbers. Shiraz says, what do you guys think of Duran, 6'5" target man striker from Chicago Fire? Isn't that guy a winger? Well, winger, striker, whatever, 19 years old, 3 goals, 3 assists in 10 games, a different type of striker. Big up AFTV and Robbie. Yeah. Well, I haven't seen much of him. I did hear a link, I don't think it was with us a few months ago, but listen, I'm all for a different type of striker. I wanted Patrick Schick this summer, obviously he signed a new contract. I would have taken a Tony, reason being because I think we need a different profile of striker. It's not like we've got the money that Man City have where we can perfect everything and they don't necessarily need a plan B because he's so confident in his plan A. Yeah. With us, I think we need a plan B. Jake says, Turkish, is there a big 6 tonight? There isn't, my guy, tomorrow 9 p.m. But look out for the next episodes of the Foot Golf holes 6 and 7 on the official channel. Guna Lee in the building. Big up my damn brothers. Friday we move.
See that that's how you see that energy. I'm gonna be honest, I've spoken to a lot of Arsenal fans in this past week, loads, and it's been very funny conversations because everyone is very excited. I've spoken very gassed, but we're very much apprehensive. You know that feeling where like, especially me, I want to be like, yeah, this is it. But you can't, with Arsenal, you just can't be like that. So I keep saying, listen, let's just get through Friday. Let's see how we do against Palace. Once that's done, you're going to see a lot more, I think more excitement. I think you obviously predicted 3-1. I think it'll be a bit, I'm saying 3-2. I think that Palace will get a few goals and it'll be quite tight. But I'm very much excited for it. I think everyone is on that ride, especially from pre-season. Everyone's going to keep saying it is pre-season, but you take a lot from that, and we saw a lot. I feel like I've seen a mentality change from Arsenal, and I'm excited to see how it kicks off on Friday. It's going to be a big one. There is a super chat here quickly from Simon Hathaway. Says, I think social media has given the fans too much access to players, and this is why the golden era concentrated on the game and our legends. Oh, that's why.
Yeah, 100%. Social media, internet played a massive part in that. Sponsorships, brands, profile of the players. They became brands within themselves. So of course it's not all down to the people. Let's say technology came in and changed it, but at the same time, listen, if you're getting paid so much money, I expect some focus, and I don't mean focus on fashion or music or whatever it is that players be doing nowadays. I mean focus on the football.
I always battle it because football's a short-lived career. They've got to make the money to last for the rest of their lives. Players have to look at other
You'd be like Bellerin. I can tell you'd be like Bellerin. You wouldn't want to watch interviews on AFTV if you played for Arsenal.
No, I know. I have to stand for players because they have to have, obviously I run a company called Talent Transfer, and I have to say, like I just said there, players don't have long careers. They have to have other outlets. I guess when things aren't going well, I'm aware that fans really hone in on what they're doing outside of football and can criticise. But
all this, the players don't have long careers thing. Yeah, listen,
it's true though.
But a man working 40 years, 9 to 5, you still won't make as much as a football player in a top league in Europe in 15 years. So if we're saying a footballer's career is not long, their money's long.
Their money can be long. When you're young and you're getting a lot of money, and then you haven't come from a privileged background, and you're trying to buy your mum a house, and you're doing all these things that you seem deemed to be right. Once football stops, or you get an injury, or your career ends, to keep up those living expenses, you can't.
But look at Sterling. Sterling did all of that when he was young. He bought his mum a property, but he's very serious. He's got that inner desire to prove himself to be the best. You can do both. You can do both. Too many people take their eyes away from the prize, and then.
But Sterling's performing as well. I think that's why people don't really talk. He does so much outside of football.
Yeah.
Does brand like the Clarks thing, going to Jamaica, has a property in Jamaica, does a lot of charity stuff like.
Mane does a lot for back home as well, but he focuses on his football as well.
I would even say, I know, you know me, I'm going to say Rashford, but he gets a lot of criticism for things he does outside of football, even though he does some great things and he's setting things up for his future and his family. But because he had one bad season, fans look at that and say you should stop doing that and just focus on the football, which I think it can be unfair. It's an argument that, you know, I'll always have to throw up, and why you're very keen and I'll be done.
Maybe start focusing on it at 30, 31, yeah? Don't be focusing on it at 22, 23 like I've seen a couple of men do over the years. But we have got about 10, 15 minutes
we've got to go
left.
into player expectations.
A little segment we're going to bring up now as well, key player expectations this season. Cecil's picked out some key players for us moving into the next 22-23 season. He's got the numbers that they produced for us last year. So as a collective, you guys get involved as well. We're going to go through, 6 or 7 different players, and talk about what we expect from them numbers-wise, goals, assists. Obviously, we're predominantly looking at attackers here. But yeah, we will touch in on other areas too. So who are we starting off with?
Let's start with Bukayo Saka. Everyone as well, like Toaster said, let's get involved. Let's do this. I like these interactive sort of sections in the live show. So Saka last year in the league, these are all league stats in the Premier League. 11 goals and 7 assists. For a wing, listen, there's always the argument of like, if he's a winger, likes of Mane and Salah, and that they score this many goals, got this many assists. 11 goals and 7 assists. Yes, I expect Saka to improve on that. But I actually think that's good numbers for me. I think that is good numbers. I'm going to go, this season, what I expect him to get. Maybe some more goals with Gabriel Jesus being in there as well, being able to link up with him, a bit more of a fluid play. I think you'll see a lot of play going down the right, obviously with Pepe as well, looking like there's not going to be a replacement as of yet. So Saka's going to be probably the main guy. I'm
taking the same. I'll take 11 goals and 7 assists again. Yeah,
I'm not going too far off. I was going to say 13 goals and 8 assists, but I mean, there's not much difference. 12 goals, 9 assists. I'll take it. They're good numbers. I can't lie.
He was let down by other attackers last year. That's the lack of a real potent striker. I'll take them numbers again. You got to remember, he's still very, very young, and he kicked on quite a bit last season, in my opinion. The step up he took in responsibility and output, I mean, he done very well. So I'd be happy if he ended this season with 11 goals, 7 assists as well, because I assume Jesus will get over 15 goals, and that will add to where we was last season and so on. It all depends on
where the goals are being shared across the team. That is 100%, because obviously Lacazette only got 4 goals last season.
I nearly got 4 goals. I didn't even play a game.
I hear it. So if the strikers are scoring goals, so because when we go to Gabriel Jesus, I'm hearing people saying 20 goals, 15, 25, 30 goals. I saw in one of the fan roundups. So if the goals are being spread, Saka getting 11 goals and 7 assists, or anything close to that, or just above that, are great numbers.
I'm happy.
Okay.
A mix of both.
Okay, let's go to Emile Smith-Rowe then. 10 goals and 2 assists last year in the league. And remember, many of these goals coming off the bench, not getting many minutes. Again, what you just said about Saka, I'm going to go the same. I want some more assists from Emile Smith-Rowe. I'll say maybe 4 assists or 4 or 5. But goals-wise, double figures, coming off the bench as well, not even being the main starter. Most of the time you see Martinelli play, I think double figures, 10 goals is good for me. I'm happy to see that from Emile Smith-Rowe. I don't think that's not something I want him to improve on in his game either. It is more the assist side and actually fitness as well for me. But
I agree. I'd take the same. I'm looking at 10 goals, 2 assists. All right, you mentioned a few more assists, but I'll take it. It was in terms of goals from midfield. I know he played in the attacking 3 positions quite a bit as well off the bench, but in terms of goals from a midfielder player, he was our most productive. If he can do that again, coming in and out of the side, more competition this season, I'll be happy with that. Okay,
so now this is the thing here. So I want to make sure, like I said, I want to involve the chat. So I don't want to rush on too far through players without getting them involved. So PSV96 says 20 goals and assists for Saka. 20 plus contributions. I think
that's 18 there for him last season. So you mean roughly the same?
Maybe? Yeah. I think they and 20 goal contributions or goals. Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, what is it? Would you say it's 18?
18 for Saka.
So just 2 more. A lot of people want high for Saka. Cameron Lowry with a super chat. Lowry, so he says, I want Saka to learn to strike the ball well and /cleanly.
I know what you mean, but at times he did.
Some good goals. First time goals.
I think he's getting more confident.
City. I think he's a good finisher of the ball.
I want him to be more of a threat cutting in terms of not just laying it off to Odegaard and running, but more a threat where people are worried about him, taking a shot on goal as well. And that only comes with a clean strike, scoring, and getting shots on target.
And maybe that comment comes from I can't think of a time where Saka's scoring worldies from outside the box and absolutely hitting it top bins. I know most of his goals come from great interplay, first touch finish, or coming into the box
good
late,
movement.
First touch finish, driving with the ball and slotting in the corner. There's not so I understand where that might have come from, but I think he's a very technical player. But I think that's where that comment comes from, that super chat there. What else there? Saka is 20. Jesus Christ, give the kid a break. I think we're being fair by saying get the same as last season. No one's saying. I don't know if you're replying to people in the comments or you're replying to us.
Because I don't know, we've been fair.
We've been very fair there. And Jabbar Taylor says Saka 15 goals, 8 assists. Right, let's move on. Eddie Nketiah. Eddie Nketiah. Now he's going to... I was going to say he's going to feature a lot this season, but we don't know right now. He'll get time maybe in the cups, but these are his league stats. His league stats are 5 goals last season, 1 assist. I think fair to say definitely double that. I think that's fair. 10 goals, 2 assists. You could want more. Would you want more? Your second striker, 100 bags a week, 14. Are you expecting to be hitting 15 goals?
Again, it comes to how much he plays. And this comes down to Jesus' fitness and how well we protect him. But I assume Eddie will start about 10 games.
I'm going 10 goals.
And I assume he'll come off the bench for another 10 or so. So if we're talking 20 appearances, both starting and off the bench, then I think 8 to 10 goals is fair. When you could, because I don't expect him to be playing much.
Okay.
I don't expect him to play much. Don't get twisted. If he starts playing I'm gonna say 8 to 10 goals. If maximum starts 10, I'm looking at 8 to 10 goals.
I think as a player, and Eddie himself, I know he very, very much believes in his ability. I think saying 10 goals, I think that's a fair. You scored 5 at the back end of last season, playing hardly any games. I want more assists. I want 5 assists. I think the reason why I say that is because when I've seen him play alongside Gabriel Jesus in pre-season, it sounds like they look in sync. They were doing the sharp turns together. They were very much knowing where each other were, knowing when to play the ball, and they knew where each run was going to be. And I expect that will push up his assist tally.
Eddie's worked on his game.
100%.
He's worked on his game, and that, the way he collects the ball with his back to goal now has definitely improved. That's one area, not just in the pre-season. We saw it towards the end of last season, what he's improved on. Obviously, Jesus has come in and probably helped with that as well. But I just don't... Like I said, if it's a 10 starts and the rest off the bench, then I'm happy with 8 to 10 goals and a few assists added into that.
So that's your expectation, not the minimum you expect him to get. So that's your expectation. You'll be happy to, like you just said, you'll be happy if he gets that. It's not a failed season if he gets that.
If he starts anywhere close to 20 games, then I'm looking at up to 15 goals.
Okay.
Because then he would have had 5, 10 off the bench as well. So you're looking at probably 25, 30 appearances in total. So I think 15 goals is fair.
Okay.
But right now I'm thinking he'll play maybe 15 games, max 20, both off the bench and starting. So I think 8 to 10 goals, 2 to 4 assists, something like that, I'm more than happy with.
Okay, Kingsley says double figures for sure for Eddie. Jay Sai says 10 league goals is fine if he's a sub. PSV96 says 10 to 15 for Eddie. Count Trosakola says 15 goals, assists for Eddie. I don't know, 15 goals.
Altogether, probably.
Altogether. 12 Premier League goals, says Name. Okay, so a lot of people saying, I think a lot of people are agreeing with that. Ash with a super chat says, have you guys noticed that Man City is really nice with us, and by extension Arteta, he'll become their manager after Guardiola leaves. You'll see. Back to the numbers on there. So Martin Odegaard, last season in the league, 7 goals, 4 assists. I need more goals from Odegaard this season. I need more goals. I think if he works on getting goals and he's shooting more, because I always seems to that extra touch. When there's a gap, when he can hit it first time or if the space opens up, he always takes that extra touch. He is a perfectionist. I know he likes to find them slip-through balls last minute, but if he gets more goals, for me, I've said it before, I think he'll be a complete striker. Midfielder. Complete midfielder, Martin Odegaard. So I want double figures for him next season. That's where I'm at.
I want more assists. I think 7 goals. I'll take that again this season, but I'm looking at 10 to 12 assists from him because look, we've added Jesus. We're another year into the process. He's been key to that. He's captain now. He's someone that, listen, if he doesn't like shooting now, he's not gonna get that consistently into his game. And when you look at some of the additions we've added into the forward line and the midfield as well, I'm happy with 7 goals, 10 to 12 assists added onto that.
I like this. I love that we're doing this with the comments, because listen to this comment here. Jay Sarah says, Odegaard created 77 chances last season, only 4 assists. Not his fault he had Laka and Ovo on the end of them.
Well, judging by that, I might ask for 15 assists, but 10 to 12 assists, 7, 8 goals, I'll take that. What's that, 20 goal contributions in total? If we're saying Saka gets near to 20 as well, if we're saying, ESR around 10 to 12, it's starting to build now. We're not even talking about Jesus here. So.
Yeah, exactly that. And then we're looking at a lot of goals and assists for a side, that maybe not deemed top 4 ready to some people. Let's go to. Oh, sorry, I said double figures for Martin.
Yeah, someone said Odegaard's not. He's only 23, can still develop Turkish, and I agree with that. But like someone says here, Keenan says he's not a natural goal scorer, and when you're not, when you grow, like he's only 23, but he's been playing football 15 plus years already. Once that's in your game, it's very different to change it, especially when you're working in a team that likes to pass, move, and do all of that. So I don't see him being someone that Arteta's looking at for goals. I think he's looking at him to kind of orchestrate the attack and the transition. Yeah,
and for Odegaard himself, I'm sure he's going to want to work on finishing and getting goals. He's always been a prospect, or he come from Real Madrid as a talent that's going to be exceptional in the future. Now, surely he wants to become the complete player. Yes, he said, what did he say, he's 23? Yeah. To me nowadays, that's not young in football either. That's not young. That's not young. There's kids breaking through at 15, 16, 17, 18. So for me, Martin Odegaard at Arsenal Football Club, as the captain, I'm sure he's going to want to add more goals to his game and become a complete midfielder. And that's all I think is needed, with a little push on those assists. Martinelli, Turkish, 6 goals, 6 assists last season. People in the comments as well. What are we saying about Martinelli? Because I'm actually, with that, I'm happy with those numbers. I actually am.
Well, you're happy because he came in halfway through the season. If he's starting the season for us and he ends with 6 goals, 6 assists, I don't know if I don't think I'd be happy with that.
If he's playing every game, maybe not. But I think, I don't think he's going to be. If we look at all the numbers we've kind of predicted for, or what we want from other players,
I think. I guess what's that? 12 goal contributions. If I ask for 15, that's still fair. If I ask for 15, that's still fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say 15 goals and assists combined from Martinelli. This is his season to kick on now. I'd love to see a season like from him that Saka had last season, like an 11 goals, 7 assists type season. But I think 15 all in, that's a fair target for him.
What did you say for Saka goals wise?
I said I'll take the same thing he done there.
Same.
But what's that, 18? So I'll take 18 to 20 goal contributions.
The reason why I'm asking, because if he's not on penalties, 11 goals in the league.
He only banged in a couple of penalties last year.
As I say, that's a big. It's not a big ask. That's a good return if he does that without taking penalties. Because I want Gabriel Jesus to be on penalties next season. And doing that, we have actually come on to Gabriel Jesus. Your expectations for him now? People, like I said, I've heard 15, 20, 25, 30 goals. Where are you at for assists and goals?
I think with Jesus. I'm looking at 25.
25.
No, 25 goal contributions.
Okay, I was going to say that is the highest. If you're going to say 25 goals of that, probably you're putting him under
that could be 18 goals,
pressure.
7 assists.
Yeah.
That could be 15 goals, 10 assists.
First season.
It could be 20 goals, 5 assists. It could be 23 goals, 2 assists. It could be a mixture of them. But listen, it's his first season at us.
That's what I'm saying.
It's not his first season in the league. It's not his first season working with Mikel. It's not his first season working in this type of a system. So for me, listen, you come in, you are the main man, you've got the big money, you're the number 9. I think it's fair to say 25 all in.
Go 25 all in. I'm going to go, listen, I think he might actually hit 20 goals, but I'm going to go 15 goals, which I want to see from him. I think that's fair. I don't see many, like Lacazette. Obviously, Lacazette never really hit 15 in the league. I would love to see that from Gabriel Jesus in his first league. I think that'd be a big boost for him, and I think he's capable of doing it. I actually think he might hit 20, but I'm going to go with 15 expectation-wise. I think that's a fair enough target for him. Assists, I think he'll rack up some assists as well. He's very technical. He finds players very well.
What are you thinking?
I'm looking at the numbers here. Saka 7, Emil's for a 2, Henry 1, Martin Odegaard 4. Okay, let's 4, 3 or 4.
So all in, what are you saying, about 20?
Just underneath. So 18.
You're being very nice.
I am being nice. I think, but because that's a target. I think that's a minimum. I think if I don't see that from him and he plays most of the games in the league, I'll be disappointed. But I think a minimum 18 goal contributions. I think that's very, very fair.
As a minimum, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, that's how I'm kind of doing it.
But listen, 11 goals, 7 assists for Jesus is not good enough for me. And that's 18. So that's why I'm saying 25 all in.
Yeah, but shared between what we've given for the rest.
He's the main man. So for me, 25.
All right. Last one, another attacking player. Now, we don't know if he's going to be here by the end of the window, but a player that we have to kind of discuss is Nicola Pepe. 1 goal, 2 assists last season. I mean, down to playing time, did have opportunities. That was in the league. Turkish in the league, it's a kind of a redundant one, but I just want to ask you, goals and assists for Pepe.
I didn't expect him to still be here, I'll be honest. So even predicting this is just going to be a mad one because I don't see him playing much. He didn't play much last season. So all in, 10.
Okay.
10.
Okay.
And that's me expecting him not to really be playing much. And that's goals and assists.
I think that's a good return.
Yeah, 6 goals, 4 assists, whatever.
Aussie 3000 actually says if Pepe stays, we need double figures from him in goals.
Yeah,
so,
I hear that, but if staying is one thing, playing is another. So, you know, if he's on the bench for 29, 30 games of the season, then I guess asking for double figures in goals isn't fair. But when you look at how he came in, the price tag and what he was meant to be, it's more than fair. I'm just judging off the reality we're in at the moment, and that's he's not a starter. He doesn't even seem like he's trusted off the bench. So I'm saying 10, and that's just out of nowhere. I don't know what to expect from him this season.
Yeah, fair. Right, I just realised the time.
That flew by.
We've come to the. We've done
and that was the last player anyway. So
yeah, that was.
We focused on the attackers because that's where the big boys make their money in attack. Goals, assists. You look at the last few years in terms of. Well, let me just bring it up quickly because I did just screenshot the last few years. In 2019-20, we scored 56, conceded 48. In 2020-21, we scored 55, conceded 39, and last season we scored 61, conceded 48. So we've got a work to do in terms of the defence, and we can get into the defenders more, and we'll probably do that on the next live, maybe tomorrow.
That'd be good.
But in terms of the attackers, you can see we need more goals there as well. We need to add goals, and we need to concede less next season. So a lot of work to do.
And that's it, Turkish. Thank you very much for joining me on this live.
No worries.
It's been a good one. Got through a lot of the talking topics of the day. Big up everyone that got involved in the comments as well. Like I said, I love to do the interactive sort of lives, and there'll be plenty more of them and plenty more to come. Join us again, 5 p.m. tomorrow. We'll be live, and then the next day is the Friday, the opening of the Premier League. Crystal Palace take on Arsenal at Selhurst Park. It's going to be a big one. I'm excited for it. But yeah, make sure you check out all the AFTV content coming your way in the build up to the game, and we'll see you again very soon, people. Peace.
Love.